Sometimes in life, two souls cross paths in the most ordinary way, yet what blossoms between them feels anything but ordinary. That was the case for Emma and Ryan. Emma was a young woman with a warm smile that could light up even the gloomiest of days. A literature graduate, she loved stories. Not just the ones tucked inside the pages of books, but the ones she noticed unfolding in everyday life. She dreamed of becoming an editor one day, to give voice to words that touched hearts. Ryan, on the other hand, was practical and ambitious. An engineering student who could spend hours buried in blueprints and calculations, he had big dreams of designing projects that would outlast him. But unlike his work, Ryan's heart wasn't built on logic. It was built on Emma. They met during their sophomore year in college. It wasn't some dramatic, sweeping moment. It was simple, almost forgettable to anyone else. Emma was sitting in the campus coffee shop, her notebook open, scribbling down ideas for a short story. Ryan, late to class and in desperate need of caffeine, rushed in and accidentally knocked over her coffee. The steaming liquid spilled across her notes, smudging her carefully written words. She gasped, frustrated, as Ryan stammered, "Oh no, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see, let me fix this." He scrambled for napkins, his face red with embarrassment. Emma wanted to be angry, but when she looked at him, really looked, she saw sincerity in his eyes. Instead of yelling, she laughed. "Well, I guess this story just got a new twist," she said with a playful grin. That small moment turned into conversation. Conversation turned into study sessions. Study sessions turned into late-night walks across campus, sharing their dreams, their fears, their favorite books, and their worst math classes. Before long, Emma and Ryan weren't just two people passing through college. They were each other's safe place. Their friends admired their bond. They were the couple always laughing at inside jokes, always cheering each other on. When Emma doubted her abilities, Ryan reminded her of her brilliance. When Ryan felt overwhelmed by his workload, Emma encouraged him to keep going. Their love was built on trust, honesty, and the kind of joy that made even ordinary days feel extraordinary. By the time graduation approached, everyone assumed Emma and Ryan would spend the rest of their lives together. And honestly, so did they. They talked about future apartments, future careers, maybe even a family someday. The world seemed wide open, and with each other, they felt unstoppable. But what neither of them knew was that sometimes, even the strongest foundations can be shaken. Sometimes, love is tested not by outside forces, but by the choices we make in silence. Because behind Ryan's smile, a secret was quietly growing. A secret that had the power to shatter everything they had built together. And when Emma discovered it, nothing would ever be the same. What could Ryan possibly be hiding from the woman he claimed to love more than anything? And when Emma learns the truth, will it destroy the bond they thought could never be broken? Stay with me, because soon, the trust that once held their love together will face its greatest test yet. For Emma and Ryan, life after college seemed like the beginning of everything they had worked for. Emma landed a junior editor position at a small but growing publishing company in Boston. The pay wasn't great, but every day she felt like she was living her dream, surrounded by manuscripts, stories, and words that gave her life meaning. Ryan, meanwhile, worked long hours as a structural engineer. He was sharp, dependable, and ambitious. The kind of employee who stayed late to double-check calculations because he believed lives depended on his work. Their schedules were hectic, but they found ways to make time for each other. Emma would drop by his apartment after a long day and surprise him with takeout. Ryan would leave sticky notes on her desk that said things like, "Proud of you," or "Don't forget to eat lunch." These small gestures made their love feel alive, even in the chaos of adulthood. But underneath the laughter and cozy evenings, Ryan carried a weight on his shoulders. Months earlier, he had quietly applied for a position at an international engineering firm. It was a dream opportunity, a chance to work on projects abroad, to design skyscrapers and bridges that would stand as monuments to his skills. When the offer came, he was thrilled. Yet, instead of sharing the news with Emma, he kept it hidden. Because deep down, Ryan was terrified. He feared that if Emma knew about this job, she might think he was choosing his career over her. He feared that she wouldn't want to uproot her life in Boston, and that telling her would risk their relationship. So instead of honesty, Ryan chose silence. At first, it was little things Emma noticed. Late night calls Ryan would take in the other room. Emails he quickly minimized when she walked by. A distant look in his eyes, even when he was smiling. One evening, after a long day at work, Emma stopped by Ryan's apartment. She noticed a stack of papers on his desk, papers that weren't there the last time she visited. Curiosity tugged at her, and though she hesitated, she stepped closer. Her eyes widened as she read the bold letters. Employment contract, international engineering firm, Zurich, Switzerland. Her heart sank. Zurich? Switzerland? She blinked, reading it again to make sure she hadn't misunderstood. Just then, Ryan walked in, holding 2 cups of tea. He froze when he saw her holding the papers. Emma turned, her voice trembling. "Ryan, what is this?" His throat went dry. He tried to explain, "Emma, I was going to tell you. I just didn't know how. I didn't want to lose you." But to Emma, the words cut deep. Tears welled up in her eyes. "You didn't want to lose me? Ryan, you've already lost my trust. Do you have any idea how it feels to find out like this? To know you've been hiding something this big from me?" Ryan set the cups down, reaching for her hand, but she pulled away. "Emma, please, it's not what you think. I wasn't hiding it because I don't care about us. I was scared. I didn't want this job to come between us." Her voice broke as she whispered, "But it already has. Not because of the job, but because you couldn't be honest with me." The air grew heavy. Silence filled the room, broken only by Emma's quiet sobs. That night, instead of staying, she grabbed her bag and walked out the door. In the weeks that followed, the arguments only grew sharper. Emma couldn't get past the betrayal, and Ryan couldn't seem to find the right words to fix it. The laughter that once filled their days was replaced with cold silences and unanswered texts. Eventually, Emma made the hardest decision of her life. One rainy afternoon, standing by the same coffee shop where they had first met, she told Ryan it was over. "I can't build a life with someone I can't trust," she said, tears streaming down her face. And just like that, the love that once felt unbreakable crumbled under the weight of silence and fear. But endings aren't always as final as they seem. What happens when love lingers even after goodbye? Next, we'll see how Emma and Ryan's separation shapes them both, and how sometimes letting go is the only way to truly discover what your heart can't live without. When love breaks, it doesn't always shatter in one clean crack. Sometimes, it splinters slowly, leaving sharp edges that cut long after the final goodbye. For Emma and Ryan, that was exactly what separation felt like. In the beginning, Emma told herself she was strong enough to move on. She poured herself into her work at the publishing company, staying late to edit manuscripts and volunteering to take on extra projects. On the outside, she appeared focused, even thriving. Her colleagues admired her dedication, saying things like, "Emma, you're really climbing fast. You've got such a bright future here." But late at night, when she walked into her quiet apartment, the truth set in. She missed him. The empty space beside her bed reminded her of Ryan's late-night stories about his designs, or the way he would unconsciously reach for her hand while watching TV. She missed the way he made her laugh when the world felt heavy. Emma tried distracting herself, joining a book club, meeting friends for dinner, even saying yes to a couple of dates. But no matter who sat across from her at the table, none of them felt like Ryan. It wasn't just about love, it was about connection, the kind of bond you don't find twice in a lifetime. Meanwhile, Ryan was living the life he once thought he wanted. The international firm had sent him to Zurich, just as promised. He had a modern apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a career that challenged him daily, and colleagues who admired his talent. On paper, he had everything he'd ever dreamed of. But at night, as he looked out over the glittering skyline, he felt a hollowness inside. Success had no taste without Emma's smile to celebrate it. He often caught himself drafting texts to her, updates about his day, photos of places he thought she'd find charming, little reminders of how much he missed her. But each time, he deleted them, afraid that reaching out would reopen old wounds. One evening, Ryan found himself walking by a bookstore in Zurich. In the window, a display caught his eye. a novel published by the very company Emma worked for. He froze, his chest tightening. Running his fingers over the cover, he imagined her editing the words, pouring her heart into making the story come alive. And suddenly, the truth hit him harder than ever before. Every dream he achieved felt incomplete without her by his side. Back in Boston, Emma wasn't blind to her own emptiness either. She had built her life around routine: morning coffee, long commutes, deadlines, and the occasional glass of wine with friends. But in quiet moments, when she allowed herself to breathe, she realized something important. As angry as she had been, she had never stopped loving Ryan. The betrayal hurt, but the love? The love was still there, quietly burning, refusing to fade. Time kept moving. Weeks turned into months, and months edged toward a year. Their lives had taken them in different directions, yet neither could erase the other from their heart. And then, fate decided it wasn't finished with Emma and Ryan. One sunny afternoon, Emma received an invitation to a wedding. A mutual college friend was getting married back in Boston. She hesitated. She wasn't sure she could handle all the memories that would come rushing back. But something inside told her to go. What she didn't know was that on the other side of the world, Ryan received the exact same invitation. And despite his doubts, despite the fear of seeing Emma again, he booked a ticket home. After so long apart, what will happen when Emma and Ryan come face to face once more? Will old wounds reopen, or will fate give them a second chance? In the next turn of events, an unexpected reunion sets the stage for a choice that could change everything. The wedding day was beautiful, the kind of crisp afternoon where the autumn sun bathed everything in golden light. Guests filled the church, laughter echoed in the air, and the smell of roses lingered in the entrance hall. Emma arrived early, her heart racing beneath her elegant navy dress. She hadn't seen many of these friends since college, and though she smiled politely, she couldn't shake the weight in her chest. She took a seat near the back, hoping to blend in, to quietly enjoy the ceremony without drawing too much attention. Meanwhile, Ryan's flight had landed only hours earlier. Jet lag clung to him, but his nerves were louder than any exhaustion. Adjusting his tie in the mirror of the church bathroom, he whispered to himself, "Just breathe. You're only here for the wedding, nothing else." But deep down, he knew that wasn't true. A part of him had come back not just for their friend, but for the possibility, however slim, of seeing Emma again. The music swelled as the bride walked down the aisle. Emma smiled, tears filling her eyes as she thought about how love, at its purest, could be so beautiful. But as she glanced across the rows of guests, her breath caught. Sitting just a few seats away was Ryan. Her heart skipped. For a moment, she thought her mind was playing tricks on her. But no, it was him. His hair was a little shorter, his jawline sharper, his suit tailored perfectly. Yet his eyes, those eyes were the same. And when their gazes finally locked, both froze. Ryan's chest tightened as memories flooded back. Their first coffee shop meeting, their late-night walks, the sound of her laughter. Emma quickly looked away, pretending to focus on the vows, but her pulse was racing. The ceremony blurred before them both. They weren't listening to the words, because the only thing that mattered was that they were in the same room again. After the vows and the cheers, guests filed out into the reception hall. The clinking of glasses, music playing softly, and bursts of laughter filled the air. Emma tried to avoid Ryan, weaving through groups of old friends, but fate had other plans. As she stepped outside for some air, she heard footsteps behind her. "Emma," Ryan's voice called softly. She froze, her hand tightening around her clutch. Slowly she turned. There he was. The man she had loved, the man she had walked away from. "Ryan," she said, her tone guarded but trembling. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence was thick, carrying all the weight of the months apart. Finally, Ryan broke it. "You look amazing." His voice cracked slightly, betraying nerves he rarely showed. Emma forced a polite smile. "Thanks. Zurich must be treating you well." The mention of the city stung him. He shoved his hands into his pockets. "It doesn't mean much without you there." Her heart ached at his honesty, but she kept her walls up. "You should have thought about that before you kept things from me." Ryan stepped closer, but not too close. "Emma," I made the biggest mistake of my life when I hit that job offer. I thought I was protecting us, but all I did was hurt you. I've regretted it every single day." Her lips trembled. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to lean into the love she still felt. But trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt in a single conversation. Before she could respond, a mutual friend interrupted, calling them back inside for the couple's first dance. The moment slipped away, leaving emotions raw and unresolved. Later that evening, as the music slowed, Ryan found her again. The bride and groom encouraged everyone onto the dance floor, and against her better judgment, Emma let Ryan take her hand. As they swayed gently, the world seemed to fade. For a few minutes, it was just them, two people who had once shared everything, moving together as though no time had passed. Ryan leaned down, his voice barely above a whisper. "I never stopped loving you. Not for a single second." Tears pricked her eyes. She looked up at him, torn between pain and longing. "Then why does it still hurt so much?" The walls Emma built around her heart are strong, but Ryan's honesty may be the only thing that can break them down. Let's see if Emma can let go of the past, and if Ryan's vow to never hide anything again will be enough to win her trust back. The dance ended, but the silence between them lingered like an unfinished sentence. Emma stepped away, her mind torn in two. On one hand, she could still feel the sting of betrayal, the secret Ryan had kept, the nights she cried alone, wondering why their love hadn't been enough. But on the other, the warmth of his hand in hers just moments ago reminded her of everything they once shared. The trust had broken, but the love? The love had never left. Later that evening, Emma slipped outside onto the terrace of the reception hall. The night was cool, the city lights twinkling in the distance, and the muffled music from inside floated softly through the doors. She leaned against the railing, taking a deep breath, trying to steady the storm inside her chest. Moments later, Ryan stepped outside. He hesitated for a moment before walking toward her. "Do you want me to leave?" he asked quietly, giving her the choice. She shook her head. "No. Just don't say anything you don't mean." He nodded, his eyes heavy with sincerity. "Emma, I know I don't deserve another chance. I lied by omission, and I destroyed the most important thing we had, your trust. But I need you to know, I was never trying to hurt you. I was afraid. Afraid that if I told you, you'd walk away. And in trying to prevent that, I ended up creating the very thing I feared most." Emma swallowed hard, tears stinging her eyes. "Do you know how much it broke me, Ryan? Not the job offer, not Switzerland. It was waking up every day and wondering what else you might be hiding. It was feeling like I wasn't worth the truth." Her words hit him like a blow. He stepped closer, his voice breaking. "You were worth everything. Emma, you are everything. I've been across the ocean, surrounded by achievements and praise, but none of it means a thing without you. The only thing I want now is to rebuild what I broke, piece by piece, no matter how long it takes." Emma looked away, struggling to breathe through the emotion. Part of her wanted to say no, to protect herself from being hurt again. But another part, the bigger part, remembered the boy who spilled coffee on her notebook all those years ago. The boy who stayed up late helping her study, who believed in her when she doubted herself. That boy was still standing here, begging her for another chance. "Ryan," she whispered, her voice trembling, "I'm scared. I don't know if I can go through that kind of pain again." He gently reached for her hand, his touch warm and steady. "Then let's go through the fear together. No more secrets. No more silence. From now on, I promise you my honesty, even when it's hard. Even when it scares me. You don't have to forgive me tonight or tomorrow. But please, let me prove to you that I'll never make the same mistake again." Her tears finally fell, and she searched his face for any trace of insincerity. All she saw was love, raw, unguarded, desperate love. Slowly, she nodded. "I never stopped loving you either. That's what makes this so hard. But maybe love can be stronger than fear." In that moment, Ryan pulled her gently into his arms. She didn't resist. For the first time in months, she let herself lean into him, feeling his heartbeat against hers. It wasn't a perfect resolution. It wasn't all healed overnight. But it was a start. The night ended not with certainty, but with a fragile hope. They had chosen to try again. To rebuild, not by forgetting the past, but by learning from it. But choosing love is only the first step. Can Emma and Ryan truly rebuild their trust, or will the weight of the past follow them into the future? Let's discover if their love becomes the hope that carries them forward, or the memory that teaches them what they could never hold on to. Rebuilding trust isn't like flipping a switch. It's like repairing a broken vase. Delicate, careful, requiring patience. That's what Emma and Ryan came to understand in the weeks after the wedding. Instead of rushing back into what they once had, they chose to take things slowly. Coffee dates turned into long walks through Boston's parks, where they talked not just about the present, but about the pain of the past. Ryan listened as Emma shared how betrayed she had felt. He didn't interrupt. He didn't try to justify his silence. He simply listened, and each time he said, "You're right. I should have told you," the walls between them began to lower, little by little. Emma, in turn, opened her heart cautiously. She told him about the lonely nights after their breakup, about the empty space beside her bed, about how she had tried to move on but never could. Ryan's eyes filled with tears, and in those moments, he realized just how deeply he had wounded the woman he loved, and how much grace she was showing him now. One evening, Ryan surprised her by handing her a small notebook. Inside were pages filled with handwritten letters. Each letter was dated, each one written during the months they had been apart. In them, he confessed his fears, his regrets, and how much he still loved her. He hadn't sent them back then, but he had written them to hold on to the hope that one day he might be able to show her. Emma's hands shook as she flipped through the pages. "You wrote all of this for me?" she whispered. Ryan nodded. "I was too much of a coward to send them. But every word is real. I want you to know there were no other secrets, no other lies. Just love I didn't know how to express." Her eyes softened. That gesture, raw, vulnerable, sincere, reminded her why she had fallen in love with him in the first place. Weeks later, Emma surprised Ryan too. One Friday evening, instead of meeting him at their usual cafe, she showed up at his apartment with 2 plane tickets in her hand. He stared at them in disbelief. "Emma, these are for Zurich." She smiled nervously. "I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll love Switzerland or if I'll hate it. But I do know this: I don't want to keep letting fear make my choices. If your dream is there, then I want to at least try to stand beside you." Ryan's throat tightened as tears blurred his vision. He pulled her into his arms, holding her like he would never let go. "I don't deserve you," he whispered, his voice breaking. Emma shook her head gently. "No, we don't deserve each other. We choose each other. That's the difference." And in that moment, everything became clear. Love wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about never making mistakes. It was about honesty, forgiveness, and the courage to keep trying, even when things got messy. Months later, Emma and Ryan boarded that plane together. It wasn't a fairy tale ending where all their problems disappeared. There were still challenges ahead: new cities, new jobs, new adjustments. But this time, they faced it side by side, with honesty at the center and hope as their guide. Their story wasn't about shattered trust alone. It was about how love, real love, can become the bridge that heals what's broken. Because when trust was shattered, love became their only hope. And with that hope, they found the strength to write a brand new chapter together. Sometimes, the people we love will make mistakes. They may even break our trust. But if the love is real, and if both hearts are willing to fight for it, healing is possible. Trust can be rebuilt. And love, when nurtured, can become the hope that carries us through even the darkest times. Moral of this story: in life, even the strongest relationships can be put to the test. Trust is fragile. Once broken, it takes time, patience, and honesty to rebuild. But love, real love, is not about perfection. It's about forgiveness, vulnerability, and choosing each other even when it's hard. When trust is shattered, love can be the bridge that restores hope, if both hearts are willing to fight for it. If this story touched your heart, remember, honesty and love always go hand in hand. Don't let fear keep you from the truth. What do you think? Can trust really be rebuilt once it's broken? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you want more heartwarming stories like this, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. And remember, we're not just telling stories. We're changing lives.